are listening to the We Are West Ham podcast with me, Will Pugh, Tom Edwards, and James Jones. And we're all going on a European tour, a European tour. What a team. What a win over Crystal Palace. The game has barely finished. About 12 minutes ago, the referee blew the final whistle at Selhurst Park. West Ham United 3, Crystal Palace 2. A dominant away performance after an early setback. We're fourth in the Premier League. We've never, ever seen anything like it. What a time to support West Ham. Only earlier, Jonesy, I was thinking back to the amount of endless evenings that we spent in the studio every Tuesday night at Love Sport Radio thinking, oh, here we go again. Another hour and a half of talking about West Ham. It's so grim. Where is the light at the end of the tunnel? But the light at the end of the tunnel used to have ginger hair. He's got a deep Scottish accent, and winning is what he does. What a legend David Moyes is. What a legend Tomas Soucek is. Just again, we are massive. What a time to be alive. Absolutely busting. Jonesy, brilliant to see you again, lads. What a performance. How's it going?
I'm still trying to get my head around it all, really. It's all just taking me by surprise a little bit. I know we've been good all this season, but that, for me, I know we'll get into it in a little bit more detail. Best performance of the season so far. I don't think I've enjoyed myself so much as I have done tonight watching that. 90 minutes of just superb football from all of them. Craig Dawson living in Zaha's head rent-free for 90 minutes was a particular highlight. Aaron Cresswell calling the referee a bell end. Just outstanding. Just absolutely class. And we're fourth in the league, chaps. I can't believe it.
Absolutely stunning stuff. Tom, 4 wins and a draw, 5 wins on the bounce, of course, if you take in the FA Cup. But that Premier League table, unbeaten in 5. That is league winning form right there. Do we just settle for the Champions League at the moment, or are we going all out for the win? Only 5 points behind Manchester United, who top the table at the moment. Granted, we have played one more game than them, but it really is quite something, isn't it?
It really is. It's mental. And like you say, 6 wins on the bounce. We don't look like stopping anytime soon. We've put in our best performance of the season now in a cram schedule, and we've eked that out. We rested our big boys against Doncaster in the second team, and the reserve players stood up and they won 4-0 against what shouldn't be an easy tie against a high-flying Doncaster. So we've got the depth. We've got the mentality. David Moyes is, I don't want to sound like David Moyes, but it really is each game at a time now, as much as, we're fourth. Well, I remember in the 15-16 season getting giddy and doing the screenshots and taking it when we were fourth. But I think this year is a year, why can't we actually do it? And do it in a year when you've got Klopp, you've got Guardiola, you've got Mourinho, all in the same league. And little old West Ham are up there punching and throwing a punch every time and going away and putting in performances like that. So I think each game at a time, still believe that why can't we go and do something a little bit special this year, because we've got the firepower to go and do it like we've proved in the last 5-6 games and continue to have since September.
Tom Edwards dropping in the bait about the forthcoming 15-16 argument and which team is better, the last season at Upton Park or this current crop under Moyes. Me and Tom will go head-to-head on that later on, no doubt. Of course, as the boys mentioned there, we beat Doncaster to set up a tie, and we now know that that's going to be away at Manchester United in the 5th round of the FA Cup to reach the quarters. We were so close and yet so far the last time we went up to Old Trafford in the Cup. That stunning Dimitri Payet free kick before Bastian Schweinsteiger wiped out our goalkeeper. We should have faced criminal charges for that, letting Anthony Martial tap in that agonising equaliser the last time we went up there. But obviously not great playing top of the league, but they haven't been wonderful at home this season. Manchester United, they overcame Liverpool in the 4th round, of course. So we've got to play. We're still in the FA Cup. We've knocked out the League Cup, of course, to Everton, which is no shame in that. We're flying in the league. It is a great time to be alive and to support West Ham United. Just quickly, lads, before we get into that Palace review in a bit more detail, I know you're both chomping at the bit to do that. We'll have a little bit of housekeeping briefly, as we always do. Do follow us on Twitter at @WeAre_West Ham. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. The video we posted last week of the interview with Kieran Maguire, the football finance expert, delving into all things West Ham finances, as the chat me and Tom had with him, done very well. on YouTube. Got seen by a few more eyes than we used to. So thanks to any of you who've watched that or passed on the message. Do go back because James has done some excellent work tarting our YouTube channel up. The description to the channel, or sorry, a link to the channel is in the description to this podcast. So scroll down and have a look. On Instagram and all that as well. And as always, this week we're just asking, tell your friends about us if you haven't already. Spread the word of mouth. Text someone who might already know about it. Share it on social media, whatever. We love all that. So keep that coming in. What is coming up on the show tonight, lads? It is extremely busy. Crystal Palace review. I'll have to stop you both from talking at some stage because we have got some guests and other things to talk about, but we will go into that in more detail. Look back at that comfortable win over Doncaster in the FA Cup. We will do a transfer section. I don't know what the point is because we're going to say, yeah, we might sign Jesse Lingard, who we don't need, and then we'll move on. Me and Tom will argue about which team is better, the 2015-16 last season Upton Park side or this current group under David Moyes. We put a poll out on Twitter, one of our biggest polls yet. So we'll hear from you, the We Are West Ham listeners as well. We have the Betway charity bet section, and we've got a very special guest this week. I spoke to Nikki Caton, Isla Caton's mum. We are, of course, raising money for Isla's fight, as well as the Bobby Moore Fund and the Dylan Tombides 38 Foundation this season. So I had a chat with Isla's mum, Nikki, and even a couple of minutes with Isla, who has started another round of chemotherapy this week. And the family are in desperate need for money because they're going to be shelling out on a few bits, expensive things, trials and all that sort of thing, new treatments coming up. So we spoke to Nikki about that. We'll have the opposition view, Mark Flanagan, football journalist and Northwest football correspondent, to look ahead to that Liverpool game at London Stadium on Sunday. Thomas Edwards is the quizmaster for Name That Game as things are hotting up at the top of the table. We'll wrap up with the West Ham women. Great result to get through to the League Cup semi-final, and another game abandoned, this time for weather rather than coronavirus. We'll wrap it up with a brief Fantasy Premier League update, and then we'll say goodbye. All of that is coming up in the next hour and a half or so. So, Jonesy, I'll throw to you first. You've already said it. The Crystal Palace game, what a time this is. I totally agree with you. Definitely the best performance of the season so far. We were emphatic throughout, and if Antonio had had his shooting boots on, we could have won 5 or 6-2 rather than just the 3.
Yeah, I think if there's a game that you would point to as evidence of how far West Ham have come under David Moyes over the last year and a bit, it's that one. Away from home, 1-0 down after 2 minutes, we would normally crumble. We would normally, in a game like that, under any other previous manager in recent years, with any different or previous mentality, we would have crumbled and we would have lost that 2-3, 4-0. Instead, within 5 minutes, we're 1-0 and we go in at the break 2-1 and thoroughly deserved the victory. A bit frustrating that we conceded that one at the end, but obviously, it didn't matter. We'd done enough. It could have been 7 or 8-2, really. And just thoroughly enjoyable at the moment, isn't it? And the fact that we're fourth in the league, just absolutely almost lost for words, given, and I always say it, looking back at that first one of the season after Newcastle and going, here we go again, we've got another season, and here we are. And every single player tonight, particularly against Palace, just put in a shift, and that's all we ask, isn't it? That's all we ask is put a shift in, and if it's not enough on the day, it's not enough on the day. But no, more often than not this season, it has been enough, and I can't give enough credit to David Moyes and the rest of the players at the moment. It's just fantastic.
It is absolutely wonderful stuff. Tom, James has mentioned it there. I think we've all, or he's alluded to it. He hasn't mentioned it because I know his ego wouldn't be able to take it. But he's basically said, what I've taken from it is thank you to Manuel Pellegrini for laying the big team mentality foundations as he did, and that we're finally seeing those come to fruition. But James is right. I was saying, watch a game with my dad, and I totally agree. I just said the same thing. As soon as they scored, it's so weird that you don't think, oh, well, that's game over then. It's just really
Whereas
odd.
last season, it was,
Yeah.
well, that's it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I mean. It's just weird. Like they scored after 2 minutes or whatever it is. And you're like, oh, that's a bit of a setback, but no problem because we've easily got 2 or 3 goals in us. And Tom, that's exactly what we saw. And I think you've just got 11 players there. All of them are brimming with confidence, aren't they?
That's it. And I think, it's weird actually having 11 good players and not having a critical person who's going to let you down, or you've got a midfielder who can't keep up with the pace, i.e. what we saw in Chelsea game with Noble. I'm not saying he's not a good player. He comes on and does
Or
it.
Haller.
Yeah, exactly. Just a weak link, someone who sticks out like a sore thumb. Now you go through it. But I was watching a game with my missus and she turns to us, who's been your best player today? I go, Bonner, Dawson, Soufal, Ben Rama. You can't stop because they've all been brilliant. I think that's the beauty of it. We don't have a superstar. Fine, we got Declan Rice, arguably one of the best young talents in European football at the minute. But he doesn't take the game by the scruff of the neck without the help of his others right now. We've got everyone chipping in, everyone showing how good they are. We've got a centre midfielder who's scored 10 in 33 Premier League games since he joined us, which is better than the majority of strikers we've ever had in the Premier League era. And we've just got talent all around the park now in that front three, and it's just gelling. And I think that you can see watching it that there's a genuine belief that nobody is better than us now. And I think we had a little lull, maybe doubting ourselves just before Christmas and how far can this team go? Are we just going to stay mid-table? And I think we've overcome that. And I think Moyes' selection away at Everton and that started setting the tone. And I think now that there's a genuine belief in that side that we can go on and this is what we should be achieving this season in the situation we're in. I hope that mentality continues because they showed again tonight that they beat a very good Palace side very convincingly and we deserved it, which doesn't happen that often.
No, that's it. And for me, James was taking a mickey at me earlier in the season saying how, you're always angry when even if we win. And I think, to be quite frank, the difference is that I think there was a few that we got away with earlier in the season. Fulham and Aston Villa spring to mind off the top of my head straight away. And, it's not me being facetious or anything saying that we got away with those. But in recent games, that's what I absolutely loved, is that we have been the better team in every single game. And we've just taken the game to the opposition and just gone toe to toe with people and been better. It's not like we're relying on a bit of luck or a missed penalty or a tight VAR decision or whatever. Today was another example. We put 3 in away from home, which is a fantastic achievement for any team in the league, whatever position you're in.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been 5 or 6. They weren't half chances from Antonio. All of them were, they could easily have cannoned in off him from 5 or 6 yards or whatever. And I think that's what I'm enjoying so much more, is that we're having more of the ball. We're attacking with intent and the defense looks really solid as well. And more than anything, Tom, what you just said there, every man bar none is just, Mark Noble always said it, isn't he? I don't really care at West Ham. As long as if we come off the pitch and we've outrun and outworked the other team, then I'm happy. The rest of the stuff comes or it goes. And that's what you're seeing tonight. I think Vladimir Soufal, honestly, he might, if you took the ball away, he just did full, I'm talking 100% speed sprints, the full length of the pitch for 90 minutes. Didn't stop. It was like the 87th minute. And I again, saying to my dad, he just joined another attack. And he's absolutely sprinting back, trying to keep up with Wilfried Zaha, who he had in his pocket, as James mentioned, at the same time as getting involved as well. I just think it's so impressive. And again, not to bang on the same drum that James has said, but you've got to applaud Moyes because he's changed that mentality round from a man who went into that job as a bit of an isolated figure, very little support from the fans and the wider football community. I think hats off, and me, as much as anyone else who doubted him, should be more than happy to eat humble pie now, which I am, and because I think it's going absolutely brilliant. Jonesy, what was your sort of take on the game and the goals, a bit more the nitty gritty of it tonight? Some good goals. Antonio unlucky, and again, even Palace's goals, I didn't mind them going in because I thought we were undone by some good passage of play and nice finishes.
Yeah, I think Palace's opener was semi-frustrating in that, they know what Zaha's capable of, and just to give him that amount of space in and around that sort of at the edge of the area so early on in the game was just a little bit frustrating. But, well, I mean, you notice it for the rest of the game, they were pretty tight to him. They just gave him that extra yard. But it can't. I mean,
I did think don't you think he did well?
At it, really. He did well, yeah, of course. But for the rest of the game, he didn't get sniffed, did he? Because suddenly, Bono, Dawson, Soufal were just like, right, okay, you're not getting that extra half yard that we gave you in the first minute. But then our first goal was... You're actually
good, maybe we'll mark you.
Again, yeah, exactly. Our first goal was just sums up the mentality that David Moyes has put into the team, you know. Antonio chasing down that ball in Italy, I would say, and don't quote me on this if he loses form, but probably the most lethal central midfielder that's ever lived, particularly from set pieces. But he's always there. You put a ball in the box and he's there, isn't he? And then the free kick again to go 2-1 up. If it's Antonio getting into that, it's Soucek. But I thought just even at 1-0, we were just the first to every second ball. You know, Benrahma, Tom mentioned it earlier, Benrahma sort of getting in behind their midfield and running at the defence, and he's always got options right or left. And that's the Benrahma that we've been sort of craving ever since he joined the club, and he's now getting that run again. Now getting that confidence to be able to get in behind that midfield and start running at defences, and it offers something a little bit different to what we haven't done. Like Lanzini used to be good at it, that hasn't done it recently, and I think it was Benrahma that really gave us that outlet today, because he was just everywhere, and then defensively we were just solid, absolutely solid, apart from that first minute hiccup. So yeah, all round great performance. I think Bowen was a little bit quiet, and he has been quiet for the last few games, I think. But you know, we're forgiven for that, given that he's been integral this season anyway. What, Bowen?
Yeah, he scored the other day, didn't he? The one he chested in from about 4 yards.
Held it his foot, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
apart from scoring, he's been quiet.
But I mean, he has been. He has been quiet. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, he hasn't done a great deal other than put the ball in the back of net because I don't even really realise he'd scored, did he? And he was quiet tonight. He was quiet, and I'm actually surprised that he stayed on the pitch longer than he did. To be fair, I thought he was the first to be hooked, but I thought he'd be hooked a little bit earlier. But yeah, just all around great performance, and yeah, thoroughly deserved. Just a shame Antonio kept aiming at the post for some bizarre reason. But yeah, happy.
Yeah, the Antonio thing, that was hilarious. And any of you who don't already follow West Ham Clips on Twitter, we've bigged it up before, the alternative commentary they do. If you do listen, you'll know that the hilarious post sound effect is going to be going crazy on those videos this week. Tom, I know we've got a lot to cover on tonight's show, so we'll have to move on quickly. I did think that was hilarious, Antonio. He's just absolutely lost the plot when the third one that he missed cannoned off his shin and went wide after he'd already hit the post twice. He's just lost his head, and Checo Chiarti's looking at him like, "What are you doing, mate? You're 3-1 up. You're obviously going to win." But yeah, what did you make sort of the individual performances? Did man of the match was given to Soufal on BT Sport? Did you sort of agree with that? And was there anyone who you thought? Yeah, Soucek, yeah.
Yeah. No, I thought any central midfielder who scores two, he deserves it. And it wasn't just that. I think the thing which is lost in the social media and all the sort of memes that are made about him, because, yeah, he is this 6'4" lanky guy from Czech Republic who loves potato salad. But at the end of the day, he's unbelievable going backwards. He wins tackles. He's brilliant in the air at both ends, in both boxes. He's creative. He makes good runs. He's intelligent, and he's got the ability to stick chances away when it's not easy. The second chance from that free kick's come at him so quick, just to be able to caress that as he does and then put it in near post and sneak it in. That takes a top footballer to be able to have that ability to do that. So he's got way more to his game. He did deserve it for me, but not just because of his goals. He does a lot going backwards. Rice wouldn't be the same player without him next to him. And a whole back four wouldn't look as solid as it did without Soucek's running, his long levers and his ability to win the ball high at the pitch. So he deserved it. But like you said, Antonio missed a few chances. He absolutely did. But well, if we had a striker who gets as many good chances as him, he's in around the 6-yard box. He gets about 3 or 4 chances to score a game, which are good chances. He's also got the ability that Arnautovic has to make chances on his own, picking it up out wide left, beating him centre half and making that half yard to get a shot away. We haven't had a striker like that since Arnie. He's in the right area. Today, it didn't cost us. In the future, maybe I'll be berating him and saying he needs to be more clinical, but he has been clinical up to this point this season. And it was just one of those days. He was in the right place at the right time 3 times inside the 6-yard box. If your striker does that every week, you're going to get 15, 20 a season. So long may it continue. But Viva Soucek, because he deserves it. Big Tom's numbers are very underrated in this Premier League by other fans.
Absolutely, mate. Totally agree with you. There's I'm trying to sort of put it all into perspective. Obviously, West Ham played 20 games, and which is the most in the top 10 at the moment. So some more games coming up. I'm sure we may end up dropping out of that top 4 bracket once all the games are even. But great reading so far. West Ham 20 games played, 10 wins, 5 draws, 5 defeats, 35 points, 30 goals scored, 24 against, and a +6 goal difference. Imagine that. West Ham United just past the halfway point of the season. Wonderful stuff. Well, look, listen, lads, we've got absolutely loads to cover tonight. So that is it for part 1. But stick with us because we'll have the Doncaster review from the FA Cup, a little transfer section, and me and Tom are going to have a massive Barney next. So you are still listening to the We Are West Ham podcast with me, Will Pugh, Tom Edwards and James Jones. What a start to the show. I tell you what, I don't know if I've enjoyed this podcast with West Ham winning a few games. I was mentioning to Jonesy earlier, the old Love Sport Radio days when it was just grim result after grim performance after grim result was did feel like a slog sometimes. And as James used to say, if it wasn't for the 3 pints in the pub and then beforehand and then another couple afterwards, those Tuesday nights would have been a lot harder work. Not so lucky at the moment in lockdown to be sharing a pint or 5, Jonesy, on a Tuesday night. But if ever there was a time where it was appropriate, it is right now. We're talking obviously to Mark Flanagan later on in the show for the opposition view ahead of the Liverpool game in the league on Sunday. But we could have been playing them in the FA Cup after we swept Doncaster Rovers aside at the weekend at the London Stadium. Didn't really break a sweat, did we?
No, I know it's a cliche, but it was a thoroughly professional performance. And
there he is. There he is.
Come on.
Love a good cliche.
Cliche Jones is back.
I hadn't slipped one in before, so I thought I'll give this one a go now. So, but yeah, I mean, to go 1-0 up inside the first minute or two, and then build on that. And we said last week, didn't we, that it has the potential to be a bit of a banana skin, cliche number 2. And yeah, I just thought again, it's almost shocked me just how well we navigated that game. And
game of 2 halves, wasn't it? If anything, James.
Yeah, maybe you could say that. But the better team won in the end, and yeah, it was just thoroughly professional. You've got to win those games because those little plucky teams from lower divisions try and have a go, don't they? But yeah, I thought the squad rotation works nicely, and it was just brilliant to see some of the youngsters get a go as well, and obviously with a goal in the second half, and yeah, it was just a nice, unusual, comfortable West Ham win against lower opposition, which we're not really that used to, are we? Barring that 8-0 win against Macclesfield a couple of years ago.
Exactly that, mate. Yeah, exactly that. I'll come back to you in a minute, and hopefully we can bait out of you the phrase, this is the year where we should have a cup run, and then I think that will be either me or Tom will have won or got a full house on the James Jones cliche bingo for the evening. Tom, James has mentioned it there in amongst all the cliches, some salient points. It really was. I ended up watching it on iPlayer. I started it a bit late, so I watched it from the start, watched the whole thing through, and yeah, it was just nothing to be worried about. Well, they hit the bar in the second half, didn't they? And like James said, the most enjoyable part of it for me was seeing Ben Johnson get a run out and look fairly comfortable. The young lads, Jamal Baptiste, Afolayan, and even Nathan Trott getting a run out at the end was nice. Afolayan getting his goal, which I thought was brilliant, a great moment for him. All in all, it was just another enjoyable Saturday. This must be what it's like supporting a good football team, and where you just enjoy your life and you haven't got the ump all the time because your team are rubbish. It's really weird, isn't it? Where you can just watch the football, you win, and you just get on with your day and do something enjoyable on a Saturday night rather than just having the arseache all the time.
I think there's no escaping it though. The lead up to the game, when you find out the team sheets are nerve wracking, that's nervy in itself. And then you see the team, and then the 90 minutes, even if you're 3-1 up today, you're still thinking they've got a sniff here, even when Batshuayi sticks it in about 98. But yeah, mate, we look good. The biggest thing was resting Antonio and Rice and not even having to use them for a minute, taking off Soucek. I think it was at half time, getting the job done. Like Jonesy said, Yarmolenko proving a bit of a point that he could be in amongst it, and he offers something, because we all know he's got class once he gets in that final third, but he probably doesn't have the legs to make a proper impact in the first team anymore. So it's nice to get him minutes, noble minutes, and just keep it ticking over and keep the boys fresh for the, so to speak, bigger games. No disrespect to Doncaster, but yeah. And here's one for you, Will, which you're probably not going to believe, but it was actually a lovely birthday present on Saturday for me, the West Ham win. And where were you? And where were you after all that carry on? After all your carry on, where the hell were you?
Jonesy, we've forgotten. To be fair, no, go on.
Jonesy mentioned.
What I'm going to say, and
don't tell me you texted him.
Tom, I'm gonna be completely honest here. I saw that it was your birthday because it was all over your social media.
Yeah, I was giving it big one.
That was the day I actually, because on your birthday, well, I didn't use social media. I don't know why. I was just busy doing something. But on Saturday, I wasn't. I was sitting at home, chilling out, looking forward to watching the game. And I thought, it's Tom's birthday. And I went onto WhatsApp and I was going to go, happy birthday, Tom. I thought, no, I better not. Will's going to be livid. So I deliberately held off. And then the following day, I forgot. So sorry about that.
No, that's unreal. I thought he did.
So Tom's had a birthday on Saturday. I've given him pelters in November for missing my birthday. Both of you did, to be fair, which was an absolute disgrace. But in my defense, and this sounds like a proper made up #every excuse.
Here we go.
I'll even show you. This is my new phone. I was transferring over all my data from my old iPhone to my new one on the weekend, and because the old dial-up internet out in deepest, darkest Essex, where I'm spending lockdown, isn't too clever. It took me most of Saturday and all of Sunday to transfer my phone over. So I didn't go on my phone, WhatsApp. I even text you. You'll know this. And this is why I text the group chat saying, lads, have I missed any messages? Because I've had a phone blackout. That is why. So my excuse stands up. Jonesy, you were too busy trying to play some sort of silly game to wish your friend a happy birthday. You're a disgrace, son.
Do you know what? No. The thing is, I just want a quiet life. And I thought, if I wish Tom happy birthday now, Will's going to be in me here going, you did wish him happy birthday, not me. And I thought, I've got enough to worry about than, bickering in a WhatsApp group about whose birthday's what. So I thought I'll leave it. And then what I'll do is I'll message Tom on Sunday. All will be okay. But then I forgot. So, yeah. I think we're all to blame. I'm looking forward to you boys forgetting my birthday.
Who messages someone a day after their birthday? Anyway, I'm not having it at all. Well, Tom, look, I'm very, very sorry about that. Many happy returns of the day. How old were you, out of interest? Were you 17 this one or 18?
Yeah, 17 and a half, mate. It was my half birthday this year. 24
years of age, eh? That, for anyone listening at home, is why Tom does so awfully on Name That Game when the game took place before the year 2005. Well, lads, very sorry, Tom, that we missed your birthday. It was a wonderful birthday present for you getting through to the next round of the Cup. It's Manchester United away in the 5th round. Birthday boy, will throw to you first cent on this one. What are your thoughts ahead of that game? We'll obviously go into it in detail in the podcast before that game is on the 10th of February at Old Trafford, 7:45 kickoff. We've got history there. I was up at that game. I think you were as well, if I'm not wrong. The Payet free kick game last time when we were robbed by the referee at Old Trafford. What a shock. That sort of decision wouldn't stand these days with VAR. But what are your thoughts ahead of that? They're going great guns in the league at the moment, United, but I don't know. I'm not confident, to be honest, but they are beatable, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly that. And the better they do in the league, probably the better for us, because the game falls on a weekday. I think it's between 2 Premier League games as well, so that might influence the side they play. I know we're doing well as well, so we might rest players. But I think it's again, another cliche for the podcast, but you've got to beat the best teams to win it. You can't go a whole way beating Doncasters in
James, is that you?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's Buffett, has it? But it's a fact. You've got to beat the best teams to win it, and I think that it's another opportunity to go away. We're a good side away from home. Me and you spoke about this a few weeks ago. Will, we're probably better. Teams always push higher up the pitch, and we have more space. And I think it suits us more playing them there than them sitting back and using their pace, which will rip us apart. But I think we've got it in us to beat them. First half against United, when we were there, we were unbelievable, and we ran toe to toe with them. And that's probably one of the points I felt like we left behind this season in that game, because could have done them, at least got a draw. And I think that there's no reason why we can't go there and provide another bit of a upset, because as low they're flying, they're only 5 points ahead of us. I know they've got a game in hand, but no team is significantly better than anyone else this year, or at least not proven it yet. Man City might be the ones who do, but I think we've got to sniff, and we can go there, and we've absolutely got to go there and play our best side and see what we can do, because some of the teams left in it are very beatable.
Well, yeah, Jonesy, we're away to Fulham the weekend before. We've got 4 days rest, and then we play United, and then we're at home to Sheffield United the other side. So 2 big games in the Premier League campaign as well, especially if we're doing well. United, on the other hand, host Everton in the league on the Monday night. They've got Everton. They play them on the 8th. At Old Trafford in the league, and then we visit just 2 days later in the cup, and then they're away to West Brom 3 days afterwards. They got European football, which they don't have to worry about anymore, of course, having gone out of the group stage of the Champions League. They're going to be going for it hard, I think, aren't they, with the FA Cup? Given those games either side, and United, that's sort of one of their one of their only chances of silverware outside the league, only one. I'll get my words out in a bit. It's not like they're going to be distracted by other things, is it? They're going to be going for it hard as well.
Yeah, they're going to be going for it, but I think them playing 48 hours earlier against Everton is going to work massively in our favour. It's not going to be an easy game for them. And I think I completely agree with Tom. Actually, playing at Old Trafford probably works in our favour a little bit better as well in terms of the game plan, the way they like to play. Obviously, we saw them at London Stadium only last month, 6 weeks ago, where they completely ripped us apart, particularly in the second half on the break. So it could be our turn to do the same to them. But I think the fixture list is getting a little bit crazy, and while it might suit us that they're playing 48 hours earlier, we're going to be tired as well. I mean, there's games, like 2 or 3 games a week between now and the rest of the season, isn't it? It's just if you're in every cup, it's just relentless. So it'd be interesting to see how it plays out, but I'm not 100% confident. I think it's probably one of the worst draws we could have got, given the form that they're in at the moment. But anything can happen between now and then. Cliche number 3.
There you go. James, please just tell me this is the year that we should be having a cup run, and then we'll move on.
Not yet.
I mean, given that last time we had a decent enough cup run, we were in similar form, weren't we? And you've got to go for cup runs when you're playing your best football. So this is definitely the year we should be trying to win the FA Cup. Absolutely
Love it. And that is bingo for me on the James Jones Full House Cliche Bingo. Right, we've got 7 minutes 55 seconds left in this segment, lads. So we put the transfers bit in every week. Everyone knows my stance on transfers. I hate the transfer market, and until a player for West Ham has got the shirt on and they're doing the pose, I'm not overly interested, but given that we do a podcast that thousands of people download and listen to every week, it's probably a bit we probably owe them a little bit of information on it. Tom, Jesse Lingard seems to be the main one, play an attacking midfielder, which I don't think we need at all. It just seems another one of those signings just because he's been good for a big team before. No one else is interested in him, but we seem to be the only ones that are. Looking at him on loan, I believe, and we're going to make room because we've already got Dawson and Ben Rama taking up our loan spots. We're going to make room by making at least one of those deals permanent. You think it's Ben Rama?
Yeah, so apparently, obviously, the Lingard deal is going to happen. Some people reporting it'll be permanent, but it looks more likely. I think Duncan Castles and a lot of journalists have been breaking this evening just prior to the game that Ben Rama deal had effectively already been made permanent before we kicked the ball today. And to free up that room to get Jesse Lingard in, I think it's an easy one for the board in this sense. Both Dawson and Ben Rama are both going to happen. They're both going to be permanent signings. It's just a matter of which one you pick. But also the rumours coming out of the club are quite positive in the fact that doing that and paying for Ben Rama isn't going to affect the striker search, and we should still be hoping to see one come in. So that's positive. I believe it's a striker at RB Leipzig who was at Salzburg called Hwang Hee-chan, an Asian fellow who played for South Korea, and he's a very mobile striker, scored in the Champions League away at Liverpool. Whether or not he'll get much game time if he does come in, who knows? But those two look like the most likely, and I think particularly Lingard's very close. If we'd done that with Ben Rama and we've overstepped the gun and we paid that money up front, we wouldn't do that without knowing that Lingard's effectively done. And on that one, I'd like to say I think he does offer something. I think he's a mobile 8. I think he can play anywhere across the front three. I think if you want to play 3 in the middle, he can do that. It's a loan deal. He won't start for us. I think he knows that. We know that. And he's got a lot to prove. I know it's the typical thing with him is he is still young enough. He's 28, can come in here and he wants to move down south. I think something's gone wrong with his family. Wife left him. His missus is ill. He's looking after his brothers and sisters and his kids. I think a lot's gone on. So that might have affected his form, and hopefully he can come down here and show his best football because he's got it in him. We saw at the World Cup that he was one of England's best players. And if we can get that out of him and Moyes, then we've got a good player on our hands.
It's just not one that I'm able to get excited by at the moment. Matthew Bonswell, RB Leipzig left back as well, youngster, also being linked with him. But yeah, nothing. I don't know if we take Lingard, we take him, but we sold Grady Diangana because we were told that there was too many attacking midfielders that we had. So it seems a strange one to me. He's going to be on, fair old whack as well. I know we won't be paying all of his wages, but that is what it is. Right, Tom, we've got 4 minutes and 42 seconds in this section left. The 2015-16 argument, me and you have been going at it for a couple of weeks about which team is better that season or this. We put it out on Twitter last week. We put it the poll as we always do. It's our biggest poll yet. And I went down, I just said, right, Hams fans, settle a podcast argument. Which West Ham team is better, last Upton Park or this season's side? And we gave fans the opportunity to vote for each, for their best player in each position. So as we're a bit pressed for time, Tom, I'm going to run through the results and then you give me your thoughts after that. So Adrian or Fabianski landslide, 93.7%. Right back, James Tompkins or Kufau. Unsurprisingly, Kufau with 98.4% won that one. Centre back 1, Ogbonna 15-16 or Ogbonna modern day, 95.2% when modern day. That is absolutely crazy. Definitely selective memories there. Centre back 2, Winston Reid from 2015-16 or Fabian Balbuena. Appreciate others have played a bit more this season, but he played the most. Cresswell 15-16 or Cresswell modern day, 60-40 to Cresswell 15-16. By the way, sorry, Winston Reid won with 90.4%. Noble or Soucek in defensive midfield. Mark Noble from the 15-16 season, of course, 17.1%. Soucek 82.9%. Defensive midfield, Kouyaté or Declan Rice. Declan Rice with 99.2% of the vote. Poor old Cheku Kouyaté getting 0.8. Right midfield, Antonio 15-16 or Jared Bowen. Jared Bowen won that. But again, people, selective memories. Either that or they're all in your year at school, Tom, and they all turned 16 at the weekend as well. Bowen getting 65% of that vote. Lanzini 15-16, beating Saeed Benrahma in the attacking midfield position. 88.2 beats 11.8. Payet, of course, beat Fornals 98% to 2. And then Mikel Antonio, modern day, with 78.9, beats Diafra up front. I don't think, to be honest, and I'm not saying it because that plays into what you were saying more, Tom. Some of those are a flip of the coin, I think. The Bowen one, Jared Bowen is not better than Mikel Antonio was in 15-16. But either way, Tom, it appears that you were right. Obviously a tough one to say, but what are your thoughts on that, hearing those results?
I just think overall looking at, I think the team, like you say, some of it's a bit wishy-washy. Antonio's better than Sacco though, so Bowen and both of them will probably play one way or another. So I think that's why maybe people voted. But on that, I think that this league is infinitely more competitive than 15-16. Leicester won that league in quite a runaway in the end. Chelsea came 10th. Liverpool came below us. We were in the hunt with the Champions League. Southampton were up there. It was a very poor league. That was one of the worst leagues we've ever seen in England. This year, you've got Klopp, Mourinho, Pep Guardiola, three of the greatest managers, actually the three greatest managers of the last decade, 2 decades in the league, with 3 top teams going right at it. Champions League winners 2 years ago, Champions League finalists the year before that, 2 Champions League finalists the year before that. Very competitive in Europe. You've got a much better overall quality within this league, and we've got more weapons, and we're right up there. It's not like you have a runaway team this year, or you have a Leicester, or we are that team in there with Leicester, in amongst some of the best teams in Europe, in the world at this minute. We're not against teams who are coming out in the group stage, last 16 and failing in Europe. These are the crop of the crop in Europe, and we're right amongst it. In that year, it wasn't quite the same. And Claudio Ranieri, who'd never won a major title, won it with Leicester. So I think this year is harder to be amongst it like we are.
Well, fair play, mate. Look, we've run out of time for this section. A few people getting involved and stuff in the comments. Chris Burrell, Adam the Architect, and Reese just coming up with some good points. Basically, just saying that Payet was better than any of those players in either of those teams. So perhaps that sways it in line with that a bit. But I think some selective memories there. But anyway, run out of time for part 2. Stay with us. It's Betway Charity Bets coming up next. So you are still listening to the We Are West Ham podcast. What a positive show it's been so far. West Ham absolutely flying. Massive respect to David Moyes. I think it's important, lads, to keep saying that because, West Ham fans, and we always try to stay balanced on the podcast. I think we always have done, even when it was the radio show. We say things that need saying when they're bad, but it's important as well to give credit where it's due to all the players. Excellent attitude, but particularly David Moyes, who has turned it around. And whether there will be people who've got no time for the board whatsoever and totally understand lots of those sentiments. And it's on them really now to back him this month. Hopefully, we've still got a few days left. It doesn't look like much more is going to happen at this stage, but you never know. That'll be a real shame if it gets to the end of this month. And after an excellent first half to the season by Moyes, he's not back to build on it and push on. Because just imagine West Ham qualifying for the Champions League or even the Europa League. It's something that we were promised when we moved to the league. But massive credit to David Moyes and all the players at the moment who, especially, everyone to a man tonight, putting the effort in. So, well played, West Ham. Well played, David Moyes. Well played, Tomas Soucek, who's just dedicated his performance tonight to his wife on Twitter, as if you didn't love that bloke enough. Lads, a little bit of bad news on the podcast. No Betway charity bet wins for us against Crystal Palace. We all went a little bit bolder tonight. Jonesy, you went West Ham to win 3-0, Bowen anytime and Antonio anytime. So you got that West Ham scored 3 goals, and that was... No. What do you mean, no?
No.
What, that's not what you went for?
No.
Oh,
that was the West Brom game.
I do apologise, mate. I've obviously mixed up my notes there. What did you go for tonight, then, if you wouldn't mind enlightening me?
Yes, so I had Bowen to score, West Ham to win and both teams to score. So Bowen let me down. In the end, he was a little bit quiet, wasn't he? But he did have a couple of chances, but yeah, got 2 out of 3.
Tom, what did you have for tonight?
I had West Ham to win, Antonio to score any time. So correct score, West Ham to win 2-1, Antonio any time and over 7.5 corners, 8.5 corners, sorry. And I was shy in that. I think Antonio had enough chances for a month. It didn't quite go in, but I'd love to make that money, and it was very close again. I've been 1 or 2 away in the last few weeks, and I'm certain one will drop soon because Isla, like you said, desperately needs it, and fingers crossed we get that over to her.
Yeah, we're edging closer at the moment. Well, just to let everyone know, Isla has she's found a couple of she obviously got neuroblastoma. She's found a couple of new spots, a couple behind her knee and one in her groin, soft tissue cancerous spots. The interview you'll be able to hear at the end of this show. Just a real plea from Nikki for all of us to dig into our pockets if we can and put money towards what is obviously a really good cause. Isla only 6 years of age. I managed to get a couple of words out of her from the hospital bed just as she was ready to go through chemotherapy. I'm sure lots of you listening have seen it close hand, what that does to people. I've seen it and what it does to full grown adults, let alone what that stuff is like going through a little girl. They're looking at treatment options. Everything's being made a bit more difficult at the moment because of coronavirus, but it looks like they could need to go to either New York or Spain for treatment again. And the numbers that Nikki let me know about, that you'll be able to hear about at the end of the show, really make your mind boggle. You're talking into the hundreds of thousands of pounds they need to give Isla a fighting chance. So if you are able to listen to that interview with Nikki at the end, it all becomes a little bit clearer. I'm delighted to say that Chad from Betway has forwarded over just over £1,200 that Tom has obviously been playing for Isla's fight this season. So that is the money that Tom has won, and the Ridman, obviously, he chipped in to that fund as well. Betway have matched our contribution. So 1,200 quid has gone from the We Are West Ham podcast to Isla's fight. But as Nikki explains to me, that is just a drop in the ocean. That money will get eaten up voraciously. So if you can, do head over to @Isla's fight on Twitter to see all the different fundraising things they're doing. There's raffles over there. There's competitions, there's loads of stuff, and you can find all the details to her Just Giving page there. Isla's, she's down to, or her family are down to £160,000, which sounds like a lot of money, but the cost of these treatments and getting private healthcare for the little girl is through the roof. So Nikki's sort of aiming for another 4 times that, just to give Isla a shot over the next 6 months or so. So if you can do anything at all, then me or us here at the podcast and the family would really appreciate it. So lads, another chance for us to win money for not just Isla's fight, but the Bobby Moore Fund and DT38 Foundation as well, who we're playing for. The Liverpool bets, I've gone for both teams to score more than 5.5 corners and a goal in each half. I just feel a bit nervous about the game, boys. I don't think West Ham are going to win. I can't call the score at all. And I do want to win some money. I do think both teams will score. I know Liverpool have been a bit dry recently, but I do fancy us to concede one, and we look like scoring as well. So I've hedged my bets a little bit. But Jonesy, what have you gone for?
I've gone for a draw. As much as I'm relatively confident given the form that we're in and the form that Liverpool are in, I think a draw is probably a little bit more realistic in my eyes. Both teams to score. And I've gone Pablo Fornals to get on the score sheet because he loves to go against Liverpool, doesn't he? I know we're not playing at Anfield. I think he scored twice at Anfield now, but he loves to go. I think he's due a goal as well, wasn't he? So, yeah, Fornals to score any time.
Fair enough. Tom, what are you having?
I've gone Antonio first goal scorer, West Ham to win and both teams to score. I think Antonio's due one. I think, like we said, he missed a few this week, and I've gone for West Ham wins all season, and we've done pretty well, and fingers crossed. It's just a luck thing, to be honest with you, going for West Ham to win at the minute. So keep it rolling.
Fair play, mate. I think the odds on that one will be pretty good. Just a reminder, you can back our selections yourself, if you like the sound of them, on the Betway official website or app. Just go to the West Ham game in question this week. It was, of course, Liverpool. Go to the pre-built bets section, scroll down, and under there you'll see the We Are West Ham podcast bets, and it'll have mine, James, and Tom's name against them. So scroll down there. They will be available for this weekend's game around Friday. So if you like the sound of it, going back those. And again, kudos, thanks very much to Betway, in particular Chad, who's sorted out getting our contribution over to Isla's fight midway through the season, because he knows, as we all do, that they need the money more than ever. So stay with us, because we'll have Mark Flanagan, football journalist, joining us for the opposition view to look ahead to that Liverpool game and see if our bets have got any chance of coming in. All of that is next. So you are still listening to the We Are West Ham podcast with me, Will, Pugh, Tom Edwards and James Jones. After the euphoria of West Ham's unbeaten run in the Premier League, it's wins, wins, wins in all competitions. So I'm delighted to say that joining us to look ahead to the Champions League place decider on Sunday at the London Stadium against Liverpool, 4:30 kickoff, is Mark Flanagan, host of the Stick It Up Your Ballax podcast and Love Sport Radio's Northwest correspondent. Mark, it's wonderful to have you joining us, and you said before we came on air that it's nice to chat to fans of a fellow top four club, which automatically makes you our favourite opposition view guest that we've ever had on. How's things, and how intimidated are you by the prospect of coming to face West Ham on Sunday?
We're intimidated by facing anyone at the moment. It just feels, I saw a tweet the other day, watching Liverpool, it's like we've been watching the same game for a month. We've become very predictable, and I think we've become a bit stale. I don't know if it's teams have found us out or there's just too many players who aren't in form. But yeah, I think the thing that I'm clinging to is we seem to do it. We're better against better teams who will maybe have a bit more of a go against us. So I'm hoping that West Ham go all guns blazing on is it Sunday or Monday?
Yeah, Sunday 4:30 kickoff.
Because we've still got Spurs to come yet, and I know you're still, you can sit back and think about that Palace victory, but we've got Spurs before we've got you as well, so it's a critical few days.
Yeah, two difficult fixtures on the bounce for Liverpool. Spurs away on Thursday, which will put you level on games with us, and you're 1 point behind at the moment on 34 to our 35. That is a difficult pair of games for you away, and I'd like to, unfortunately, based on what you just said there, I don't think David Moyes will be going all guns blazing at all. What we have shown this season is well, to be honest, I think he's finally got the balance right against the smaller teams, the ones you should beat on paper, like tonight. He's he's willing to go at teams and really open up and unleash our attacking talents. But we've definitely shown as well that we have got it in us to hunker down, keep things organised and tight, and try and hit on the break with Antonio. So there is every chance that we'll have half a chance of winning. What's the biggest concern for you then, Mark, going into the game? Is it your own form, or just the impressive run that West Ham are on at the moment?
I think you've mentioned him. I think the fact Antonio's fit. I love Antonio. I think if he wasn't 30, I think he's 30 years old now, isn't he? And he didn't have his injury problems. He's just what Liverpool are missing. He's a guy who can make things happen by himself. West Ham don't need to pass teams to death to score. I've always liked him. He's just got something about him. I don't know what it is, and he just seems to be getting better and better. And I think West Ham are a sort of a team now that they're settled. The best. The team they're going to play, and they've also got a bit of strength in depth as well. And it's bloody annoying because I can't stand your owners. So I'm just loving the.
Join your club.
The fans are great, but it's like it's happened by accident. They appointed Moyes by accident almost, and it's fallen into their lap a little bit. I suspect, you know, the Haller signing, that was probably someone in the boardroom saying we need to get that Haller, and he's, you know, so yeah, the stars are slightly aligning for West Ham with City and Liverpool coming back to the pack a little bit, and everybody. You're not in Europe as well, are you? So you don't have to worry about horrible.
Not yet, Mark. Not yet.
Well, you're going to go straight to the top one. Going straight for the top one. So yeah, things, it could get really interesting for West Ham as well, particularly if, you know, Leicester. I think Leicester are still in the Europa League, aren't they? And I know Southampton aren't. So yeah, you've got a chance. You've got a chance. But yeah, he's key. Antonio, keeping him fit, he's key.
Well, given the form at the moment between the two clubs, West Ham and Liverpool, obviously we're going into this game pretty confident. But you mentioned earlier about Liverpool getting a little bit stale, and I was just looking at the 2018 Champions League final. And there's only 2 players in your starting 11 that day that are no longer at the club. The rest are still at the club playing week in, week out. Do you think that that's been a bit of an oversight from Klopp, that he hasn't probably changed it up or refreshed the squad as much as he has done? I know he's brought in a few players since then, but do you think that that's probably now coming back to bite him a little bit in his inability to really refresh the squad more regularly?
Well, I think the thing that's overlooked slightly is the fact that they've never, Liverpool, apart from when they went big with Van Dijk and Alisson, have done everything pretty well and smartly in the transfer market. So they've never spent big money and done it gradually. And when I was on Love Sport Radio I kept saying Liverpool have been really lucky in a number of games. I just think what it is, and it's quite a boring answer, but it's just true. It's a lot of little factors all coming together. So Van Dijk out, you know, he settles everything down, and they can play a lot higher because they know we've got Van Dijk to get them out of trouble. They haven't been able to play a settled back four. The fullbacks have played too much football. Robertson's probably been Liverpool's most consistent player, and I don't know what's happening with Alexander-Arnold. It's like he's like he's dropped down a couple of levels in the last 6 weeks. I mean, it's the weird thing. The irony is we go and stuff Palace 7-0, and then it just falls apart really quickly. It's odd. I do think that the key thing for Liverpool is that Henderson is missing. I think he's so underrated as a player. He's up there with Fernandinho in terms of that ability just to be in the right place at the right time, to snuff out danger. And he can do it for 90 minutes and he doesn't stop. And I think Henderson almost makes everything click into place a little bit for Liverpool. And I think he helps he'll often overlap on the outside of Alexander-Arnold. He just gets all over the pitch. And as good as Thiago is technically, and he's great on the ball and he'll find a pass, we just don't have the legs in the midfield at the moment. And all these little things are just building up. And Salah has always been a bit of a weird player in that he gives the ball away a lot. He does a lot of things wrong, but then he'll pop up with 2 goals. You know what I mean? So when things are going wrong, Salah can look awful. And if I was West Ham, I'd get into Salah, and because the body language can go quite quickly. The good thing for Liverpool, at least Firmino looked like his old self against United in the FA Cup. He just came alive. So that's slightly clutching at straws. But like I say, I think West Ham will be really fancying it. Moyes will be really fancying it. Liverpool only play one way. You know, they never ever sit back. And West Ham are perfectly set up. I really like Bowen. I think he's great. You know, I've got strong connections in Hull, and they loved him down there. Great, you know, inspired signing. And with your front three, and the fact that I don't know who he'll play alongside Fabinho. You might play Henderson, because the lad who came in against United had a shocker. So we've got real problems there as well, which is obviously only going to add fuel to West Ham's ambition, I think.
Mark, what you just mentioned on it there, you mentioned 2 of them in Salah and Firmino, but the front 3 have been really off the pace. I'd argue all season. I know it's come to light in the last few weeks when you've had a few shutouts in the Premier League. I know obviously Salah nicked a few at the weekend at Old Trafford, but how much of a worry is that? And particularly for Firmino, because I think it's pretty set that Mane and Salah will probably keep their places forever, and they deservedly have that. But Firmino looks like the one who might drop out when Jota comes back. How much of a worry is finding that balance again, and how reasonable is it to suggest that might be gone, and that might be in their era that's already been gone?
Yeah, it's a really difficult one, because unless you're on the inside, I mean, my understanding with the Liverpool front three, particularly with Mane and Salah, it's always been a slightly uneasy alliance. There is a bit of something going on between them, and I just think that when Jota came in and did so well, and basically almost showed up Firmino a little bit, it did, like you say, highlighted the fact that just gradually, bit by bit, they haven't been at it. I would argue that they were at their best in the year that we came second to City, when they were absolutely fantastic. The Van Dijk factor made the difference last season and the goalkeeper as well. But yeah, found out. I mean, I watch Liverpool now. It just feels very predictable. You almost know exactly what the pass they're going to play when each player gets the ball, and that's what we're really missing, is that somebody who can just. Firmino is the best we've got in terms of dropping into midfield and picking the baton, making something happen, or like going past a couple of players. Even Mane, when he gets the ball out wide, I'm thinking he's going to get dispossessed here. And sort of 7 times out of 10 he does. And there is a frustration that we just don't seem to have much of a plan B as well when we need to kind of rethink. And obviously over time, teams get found out. And the genius of Ferguson and Bob Paisley from the 80s was, we always changed the winning side from strength. They were brutal. They got rid of players who you think, why is he getting rid of? Why are they getting rid of him? Why are they getting rid of that? He was brilliant last season, but just knowing when to change it when you're on top is so important, and we haven't done that really too much.
So, Mark, you sort of saying that Liverpool, that's all right. Saying Liverpool look quite predictable at the moment. I think it's still an extremely daunting prospect, as far as I'm concerned, to have Liverpool come into the London Stadium on Sunday. And as much as we are playing well at the moment, we're sort of beating teams that we would expect to beat. Really, all football fans have got that list of teams that on paper you should beat, but Liverpool certainly aren't one of those for us at the moment. And I don't know about these two, but I'd snap your arm off for a point at the moment. But how do you see the game going style wise? You mentioned Liverpool style there. Just before we get a score prediction and let you go, how do you see the game sort of playing out from a gameplay style point of view?
Well, I think West Ham will almost drop too deep because they will struggle to even. I mean, as daft as it sounds, and as well as West Ham are doing, even with Moyes, that is very pragmatic. So he will be thinking that as well. He'll be thinking a point's good for us. Don't give them space. Don't let them, fill those pockets. There'll be 2 banks of 4. It'll be really tight. And then you've got Antonio and Bowen, and who'll play on the other side.
Fornell's played tonight. He'll have Said Ben Rama. Yeah. Depends on the formation.
Yeah, I like him. He's clever. It is almost like you say, you do worry sometimes the West Ham factor, that they get to this elevated position and then they kind of shoot themselves in the foot, and Tompkins will, elbow somebody in the face after 5 minutes and get sent off. And something like, there'll be throw a spanner in their own works. But I do feel this season is different. Clubs like West Ham and Southampton and Leicester have just got to kind of think, this is our opportunity. It is a great opportunity. I know City have built up a head of steam. I'm not convinced about Spurs at all. I do think the Mourinho mindset, he goes on the defensive too easily as well. I'm not certain. So if United and City are going to be definites for the top 4, and Liverpool can get their act together, there's definitely an opportunity. And West Ham, I've got as good a chance as any, really. It's just keeping the key players fit, and that'll make a big difference, I think.
Absolutely. Fingers crossed. Well, look, Mark, we really appreciate you joining us, as we always do. What's your score prediction for Sunday? West Ham v Liverpool in the Premier League, Champions League place, head-to-head clash, 4:30 kickoff.
2-0 to Liverpool.
2-0 to Liverpool. After all of that.
West Ham will do something. They just win.
Yeah. I totally agree. Well, Mark Flanagan, football journalist, host of the Stick It Up Your Ballocks podcast. Thanks very much for joining us, and stay with us because we've got Name That Game next. So Mark Flanagan there, football journalist, going for a 2-0 win to Liverpool. Sounded pretty timid during, not very confident about his team's chances, and then he comes out with a 2-0 win to Liverpool. Lads, before we go on to Name That Game, Tom is quizmaster this week. What are your selections your match predictions for Liverpool? I'll start with you, Tom.
I'm going to go 2-1 to keep in line with my bet to us. That is, I think it's a pretty hard game. Liverpool at home. If we win, it'll be the icing on the cake for this year so far. So fingers crossed we get it done. If we play like we have been recently and they play like they have been, there's no reason we can't go and do it. So fingers crossed, but it's more out of hope.
2-1, mate. Jonesy?
Also going to keep in line with my bet, but also because I haven't predicted this scoreline for a while, but I'm going to go for a Desmond.
Yeah, I like that. I wouldn't be surprised on that one. I'm gonna err towards that as well. I don't like to copy you, Jonesy, so I'm gonna go for a 1-1. I do think it will be 2-2, but just in the interest of not copying. But look, lads, enough about that. Enough about real football, and enough about West Ham's push for the Champions League. What really matters to everyone listening at home is, of course, the Name That Game league table. I'm delighted to say that I am in third place. I am in the top 4. But given that there's only 3 of us playing, it's not that impressive. Thomas Edwards has had a storming couple of weeks, and he's eaten into James Jones's lead and overtaken him at the top of the leaderboard. Tom on 25.5 points after some recent controversy was sorted out with a head-to-head on the West Ham Palermo squad. But Tom came out of that victorious after James went for Rob Green in goal, and it was in fact Roy Carroll. So it's Tom 25.5 points at the top of the leaderboard, Jonesy in second with 23, and me just 1 point behind on 22. So this is very much a relegation head-to-head this week, lads. Me versus you, Jonesy. Tom, are you ready, and have you got a good game for us?
I'm ready. Yeah, it's a game I wasn't too aware of before, but I am now, that's for sure. And that
means it happened before 2010.
Yeah, exactly. That'll be the reason. I've already given it away, ain't I? But the obscure fact is it's West Ham's biggest win in Premier League history. Any takers?
Got it.
I'm going to go for it.
Hang on. Well, are you just ignoring me?
Go on, Will. Yeah, you're first. You did say you're up first.
But I think Jonesy's a victim of his slow internet connection there. But I'm going to go 6-0.
That is correct.
Boom.
Opposition goal scorer, Jonesy. There can't be one.
Yeah, so it goes captain, surely. Opposition captain.
Opposition captain.
Unless you've got an alternate fact ready, Tom.
I don't have an alternate fact already.
It's got to be opposition captain, isn't it?
I don't know who.
That's been the. I swear
I can't tell you who the opposition captain was that day.
Oh, you're joking.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't even be able to guess. I know the game.
You
got an alternate fact that Jonesy can give you, Tom?
I don't have an alternate. We might have to come back to this one after. Is that right?
All right, we'll come back to you later. But Jonesy, you get first dibs on that alternate fact. Is that all right with you?
Yeah, that's right. Okay,
yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
So one West Ham goal scorer.
I'm going to say... Oh, blimey. I'm going to be annoyed if I get this wrong. But I think Samasi Abu?
Samasi Abu is correct.
Shout.
Samasi Abu is correct. Opponent, Jonesy?
No, stadium next, isn't it?
Sorry, stadium, yeah.
Barnsley.
Stadium.
Jones, you got to invest in some new Wi-Fi.
Park.
No,
Yeah.
well, hang on. I get to guess one of them.
No,
don't I?
no, he gets it because of the lag. He gets it because of the lag.
Yeah, blimey. Right, well, I'm having Barnsley then.
Yeah, you can have
This is an
Barnsley.
absolute shambles.
Jonesy, this season, please.
I'm going to say, it's between the two. I'm going to say 95, 96.
95, 96 is incorrect.
Oh, I think it was 97,
Oh, it's
98.
later, isn't it?
Yeah, 97, 98, sadly, is correct.
Oh, what a dominant victory. I
Okay,
mean,
here, I've got a new one. Whoever can guess the attendance to the closest 1,000 wins. Wins the
well,
extra point.
James, do you want to go second? Because that's advantageous. And then you can just go higher or lower. Or do you want to go first?
I'll go first.
Yeah? Oh, all right. Go on then.
It was January 1998.
28,000.
Oh, that is a good guess.
What did he say?
28,000
Yeah.
from Jones.
Okay.
I'm going to... Oh, that's a very good guess, actually. All right, I'm going to go 27,999.
You have annoyingly done it. It was 23,000. That's why I asked, because it seems suspiciously low. So that's why I thought I might.
I think. what a dominant performance. I think that might have been, Tom, that game where one of the stands was being built. I don't know if it might have been the centenary. So there was no fans allowed.
Yeah, exactly that. So that's why I asked that. But for the rest of the game, the goal scorers were Frank Lampard Jr. kicked us off, a double from Samasi Abu, John Moncur, friend of the show, John Hartson, and Stan Lazaridis rounded off in the 90th minute. When we were romping Palace 3-1, I thought, I've got to get another big win here. We might make it 7, so let's see what I can do.
Tom, just let me get this correct. Were you born when this game took place in January 1998?
It was about just a few days, 13 days away from my first birthday, so I was alive and kicking, yeah.
Absolutely.
I was there. I remember it. I remember it really well. I was actually there.
Oh, you went? How old were you, James?
I mean, I was what? I would have been probably about 9.
Yeah,
mental.
I'd just turned 7, I think. Yeah, no,
yeah, 8 or 9 maybe.
Oh, there you go. Tom, just to clarify there, correct me if I'm wrong. Was that a 5-1 victory for me over James Jones there?
I'm afraid, Jonesy, it was a 5-1 victory for Mr. Will Pugh. So that actually sends him top.
Absolutely storming. So 27 points.
Yeah.
On top of the lead. I was down and out a long time ago. James Jones, what has happened to you? Your lead was insurmountable at one stage, and you're now bottom of the league by 1.5 points. Me on 27, Tom Edwards on 25.5, James Jones on 24, and luckily for you, Jonesy, I am the quizmaster next week, so you've got another chance to redeem yourself. What has gone on, mate?
Oh, it's just a really poor period of our history at the moment. You know, we've gone through several managers over the last few weeks. Can't buy anyone in the transfer window. Confidence is shot. We're just feeling trouble at the moment. We're just like it's terrible.
Not good stuff. Tom, absolutely brilliant game there, though. 6-0 at Barnsley. I still do remember it. I was a bit of an R-ing on Samasiabu. Did you say Hartson got one or not? Because that's the other one I was going to go for.
Yeah, so Hartson did get one. I'll read him out again. It was Hartson, Frank Lampard Jr., a double from Abu, John Moncur, John Hartson, and Stan Lazaridis.
Absolutely. Stuff. Well, brilliant. Name that game for you this week, Tom. That is nearly it for the show, but as always, we'll be wrapping up with the West Ham women's section next up. A good result over Durham in the League Cup. Another game abandoned, and a look ahead to Man City away on Sunday. Stay with us for all of that next. So you are still listening to the We Are West Ham podcast. That is nearly it for this week's show. What a show it's been. How enjoyable these podcasts are to do when West Ham are winning football games and sitting in the Champions League spots. The women's team not doing quite as well in their league, but they did have a game for the first time in a very long time. So many COVID postponements for the girls recently. They still sit 10th in the WSL, 5 points above Bristol City with a game in hand after their game away at Arsenal on Sunday was abandoned, this time due to bad weather rather than coronavirus. But they did finally get a game against Durham, and they won 3-0 at home in the League Cup, or the Conti Cup as it's also known, quarter-final on Thursday night to set up a semi against Chelsea on Wednesday, the 3rd of February. Goals from Soucek, Emily Van Egmond and Katarina Svitkova saw the girls get a comfortable 3-0 win, which is brilliant. As Catherine Batt from the Daily Mail explained last week, bit of a shame the way the draw's fallen. Obviously facing Chelsea, lost to them a few weeks ago. Will be a difficult one to get through to the final. But Jonesy, nonetheless, you've got to beat what's in front of you. And it's good for the girls to have managed to squeeze through to the semi-final of a cup in a season where the league form is somewhat disappointing.
Yeah, it's good. It's good for Ollie Harder to get off on the mark of it, get his first win under his belt, and having gone so long without a game, the best thing they could have done is go out there and put in a good performance, get a convincing win. It doesn't matter the level of competition in front of you, as you said, you still got to beat them, and the cup semi-finals not to be sniffed at. I know it's Chelsea in the semi-final, but the fact they've got as far as they have gives them an opportunity, and Chelsea are going to be a very, very tough game, but they'll have some confidence going into that game and the rest of the season. Now they've got their first win under Ollie Harder.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that's important, isn't it, for Ollie to get his first win, albeit against lower league opposition. But Tom, that Arsenal game abandoned again. You are left wondering, will they ever play a WSL game again in their lives? Bad weather, I think, sort of hailstones and whatever I don't know what the latest storm's called. Do either of you know what it's called? There's usually names for these things all the time. No, Storm Thumper or whatever it's called. I know it's definitely not called that, but that's a name that's sticking in my head for some reason. But yeah, that game was called off. And again, we seem like, the amount of games we've previewed this season, only for them to be pulled after we've done the podcast. Man City away is next in the league now. Sunday, the 31st of Jan. That's this Sunday, 2:30. That is a game that bit of a daunting prospect going up to Man City. That got pulled a couple of weeks ago because of coronavirus again. Finally got it rearranged. What are your thoughts on the WSL situation at the moment, Tom? Because Villa got a point against Reading, a 2-2 draw at the weekend, which puts them level on points with the girls. Like I say, they're still 5 points ahead of Matt Beard's Bristol City, and the girls have got a game in hand over them. And there's only one relegation spot, of course, in WSL. So, you don't want to get complacent, but you'd hope there's enough of a cushion there. But Man City on Sunday, bit of a daunting prospect.
Yeah, absolutely. City have obviously come on in the last few years massively, and they are one of the premier teams in the WSL. So going there under any manager at any time in the season is always going to be a tough ask. But girls are going in there with a bit of form. Well, in the last game, exactly that. Emily Van Egmond getting a goal. She's just signed permanently, so that'll get her even more settled than she already was. She just had a bit of form before the other layoffs, and then been in and out, like you mentioned, with not playing due to numerous reasons. And I think everyone has to commend the WSL throughout and the professionalism of all the girls, because having trained so hard and that being your full-time job every day, all week, and then to be pulled the Friday, the Saturday of a big game when your whole life's been dedicated towards that, it is tough, and it's not easy to constantly be at it and not knowing about the schedule and when to play. Yet West Ham and all the girls have come out and put some really high quality level of football on when they have been given the opportunity to go out and show their craft. So credit to all the girls in the whole league, to be honest. But I think Ollie Hard has had that time now, had that time to be with the girls, get his thoughts over, and fingers crossed that we'll start showing that. And yeah, it's a tough draw in the cup, but they're there now, and why not? Why not, with a bit of a buffer from relegation, go out there and maybe upset the apple cart? They've already done that in the FA Cup before, this West Ham side, so there's a few in there who've done it. So fingers crossed that they can get that one over the line.
That's it. I mean, they only lost 3-2 at Chelsea in the WSL in December. Sam Kerr hat-trick got the better of the girls on that occasion, and they put in a decent performance. It was by no means that they were absolutely romped. So, there's every chance. As I say, Wednesday the 3rd, kickoff time still to be decided. But then after that, it's Bristol City at home. The return of Matt Beard, Sunday the 7th of February. And what a huge game that will be. Bristol, of course, will be desperate for some points there. Matt Beard will know the ins and outs of the girls and the style of play and their strengths and weaknesses. So that will be an intriguing and very important encounter indeed. But fingers crossed the girls can make a fist of it on Sunday against Manchester City. We'll get behind them. And then, of course, the cup game the following Wednesday. But we'll have a guest on next week to do a bit more thorough review on those, and just fingers crossed the old league campaign can carry on and get up and running again for the rest of the season, and we'll see the girls push on up the WSL table. That is basically it from us tonight, but stay with us just for some final thoughts from me and the lads. A very, very brief update on our fantasy Premier League teams as we're midway through a game week at the moment, and we'll see if we can squeeze another cliche out of James Jones. So that is it for another week here on the We Are West Ham podcast with me, Will Pugh, Tom Edwards and James Jones. What a week it has been for West Ham. What a time it is to support the club at the moment. Really positive, and it is nice to see us winning games and all the players put in a load of effort in. And I think what all this has done recently is buy them a lot of good faith among the fans as well. If we have a couple of sort of iffy results coming up over the next few weeks, as long as the performances are still there and they're all showing that they want it as much as we do, then that's all fans will ask for. And I think that goodwill will see them through for a while, but certainly in good shape for the rest of the season. But I'm just begging that we buy a striker before the window's shut, but it does not look like it at present. But like I said I'd let James Jones moan in February if we hadn't bought anyone. It looks like he's proved to be right as we stand, but we'll give it another week before we lay into the powers that be at the football club for leaving David Moyes with a threadbare attacking lineup going into a Champions League run-in, maybe, who knows. But lads, fantasy football quickly. We're in the middle of a game week at the moment. We've had that the past couple of weeks. I end up doing pretty well on the double game week last week. So as it stands, I've got 34 points for this week. Jonesy, what are you sitting on at the moment? So this is Tuesday night.
Yeah, I'm on 18 at the moment. Foden's gone. Getting rid of him next week. Doing my head. They're 5-0 up and he's not even got a goal or assist. Rubbish.
Yeah, I bought him in this week for that. Yeah, no good. And in the league, Jonesy, you are bottom of the league now. 1,045 points you've got amongst the three of us. Tom Edwards is on 1,059, and I am 100 points ahead of that, Tom, on 1,159. What are you sitting on this week at the moment, Edwards?
With 3 players down, I'm on 19 points. Stones with a clean sheet, Soucek with 12, and like Jonesy just said, well, all of us have Foden. He's doing my head in as well, so he'll be out. But yeah, the other two have done all right for me.
James will take some solace from the fact that despite the fact that I won last week on the double game week, I used my triple captain chip and only got 1 more point than him. Tom, you also used yours, got 103 points last week on the double. I got 115. James, you got 114 without the triple. So James has still got that in his locker to claw some points back. But it's certainly interesting stuff at the moment. Just a brief update on the We Are West Ham podcast league. Rudy Eagling at the top is his lead insurmountable it seems at the moment. He's on 1,265. Jeremy Pike in second and Tom Connolly in third. I think I'm sitting 30th at the moment out of all of you listeners at home who are getting involved, and I haven't got enough time or energy in my thumb to scroll down far enough to see where James and Tom are sitting at the moment. But lads, it's been a great week. Jonesy, some final thoughts from you on what has been a brilliant week filled with goals for West Ham and a brilliant podcast filled with cliches from you.
Thoroughly enjoyable. More of that, and I'll be a happy man. It's just as you've said on many occasions, it's a great time to be a West Ham fan at the moment. It's not the first time we've ever been fourth, but I would say this is probably the first time we've been fourth and actually felt like we can sustain some kind of bid for it.
Even without another striker?
Maybe,
Seriously?
I mean, 15, 16. Yeah, I think so. But, Yarmolenko's, shown signs. I know it was only Doncaster, but he showed signs that he could potentially do a job in that position if Antonio needs a rest or gets injured or whatever. And, if Jesse Lingard comes in, that gives us a little bit of room for, chopping and changing in attacks. So, I think this is, I don't want to put, jinx it or anything, but this feels like it could be a bit of a challenge from West Ham this year, and long may it continue, because just loving every minute of it at the moment.
Absolutely. Tom, where would you be happy to come this season now, with things the way it is? I know people will, get caught up in it as we've done this week, and rightfully so. Enjoy it while we can, but where would you be happy to finish?
Happy as in genuinely come away from the season and be content would be anything 8th or above, and that's only because of what we've done from this season, from the start of the season. Before it, anything we've got from this point is almost a blessing. Of course, now we're all caught up in it and we go back, but look at the position Moyes is in, the money spent in the summer, and all the anarchy and everything going on at the club, and the Diangana and Noble speaking out. To even be in this position is pretty unbelievable from the bloke. So I think anything from me is a bonus as long as it's top half. But happy and come away from the season content, just being in the hunt for Europe until the last game, having games which matter in the Premier League for 35 to 38 games a season. I'll come away with that and I'll be a very happy man. And like Jonesy said, I feel like we've got enough weapons, we've got enough in there, we've got players who we've bought who stay fit, have a good record, and are willing to play for the shirt and go out there. And we've got strength in depth now, and Lingard would only add to that. To go out there and actually sustain a bit of a push. And obviously a part of it depends on other teams in the league, and Arsenal and teams like that look like they're getting form. But we're not worse than anyone, that's for sure. And there's no reason we can't sustain that. Our best 11 can go toe-to-toe with anyone in this league. And I wholeheartedly believe if they stay fit, we'll be right amongst it for the majority of this season.
Absolutely. Fingers crossed, Matt. I'm so desperate for us to sign a forward this month. Just give us that bit of surety if and when Antonio inevitably does get injured again. But he's certainly looking at promising for West Ham. 4 wins on the spin in the Premier League, plus a win in the FA Cup over Doncaster as well. Sees us travel to Old Trafford in the 5th round to face Manchester United. That is it for tonight's show. Thank you, everyone who has listened. Thanks, everyone, as well. I've had a few nice messages recently, emails, some of the reviews which we've read out. Just a bit of an increase in our engagement on social media, and just people dropping us a line and saying some nice things at wearewesthampod@gmail.com. Feel free to do that. It's nice to hear from you all. I hope you're all doing okay and getting through the best you can wherever you are in the world at the moment. Do follow us on Twitter at @weare_West Ham, on Instagram as well. And the YouTube is starting to pick up a little bit now. So if you want to watch the whole of our podcast back on YouTube, you can, or some just little cut up exclusive interviews that we've done with all the former West Ham guests. You can also do that on the channel now, and more of those will be added in the coming days and weeks. So scroll down to the podcast subscription for our YouTube channel link if you want to watch us as well, and do give us a review. Lots of you have already, but keep those coming in. 5 stars on whatever platform you listen to would be wonderful. But that is it for this week. West Ham played like Dons, against Doncaster. They put in a showing fit for kings at the Palace. We're fourth. We're in the Champions League positions and we're still in the FA Cup. It's a great time to be a Hammer. It's a great time to be listening to the We Are West Ham podcast. Thanks for listening, everyone. Keep the faith. It's easy to at the moment. Up the Hammers, and we'll see you next week. So you are still listening to the We Are West Ham podcast with me, Will Pugh, Tom Edwards and James Jones. Great show so far. And I'm delighted to say that joining us for our usual Betway charity bet section is Nicola Caton, Isla's mum. Many of you will, of course, know, listen to the podcast week in, week out this season, that we've been trying to raise some money and have successfully done that through our charity bets with Betway. I'm pleased to say Chad Yeomans is in the process of forwarding £1,200 that we've raised so far for Isla through Tom Edwards, who's been playing this season. He's forwarded that money, or in the process of getting that money over at the moment. But I wanted to get Nicola on today because there's been a bit of a development in Isla's situation to sort of tell you her story and let everyone know what's going on and how that money that we've raised and that everyone else, West Ham fans and football fans up and down the country, are raising, the good that that money does and where it goes. Nicola, thanks very much for joining us. First of all, great to have you with us. Bit of a shame, obviously, the sad circumstances that you're joining with us, but there's still some positivity, of course, on your side of things. So first of all, I know Isla was starting a treatment of chemo today. So how's she getting on?
So she's not actually quite started yet. It's Monday, so things are slow, and COVID's slowing it down even more. So she's on fluids because the fluids have to run for nearly 5 hours to wash it through. She's on 2 different chemos actually, but one of them really affects their kidneys, so they have to make sure that they flush it through as quickly as possible. It can make your kidneys and your bladder bleed. So
nice.
Yes, and she's doing a higher dose of this, so we're expecting probably that it's going to affect her blood counts and she'll lose her hair, and she could be pretty unwell with it actually. So it'll be a real shame, but we're hoping it does good in the long run, you know.
Yeah, of course. So just for anyone listening at home who might not know about Isla's situation, they hear us talking about it every week, and we're sort of trying to raise awareness and some cash along the way as well. But for anyone who doesn't know, Isla's got a condition called neuroblastoma. So what can you explain to people listening? What is the condition Isla's got?
So it's a rare childhood cancer. It only affects children. It's actually the biggest childhood killer in cancer as well. They say it's rare. It's about 200 a year in the UK are diagnosed. Isla actually was diagnosed in March 2017 with stage 4. She was just 2, which meant that she had a tumour of 22 centimetres in her abdominal area, and it had spread to all her bones. So 98% of her skeleton was covered also. So she's been fighting quite a long time. She did really well. We got her in remission, and then unfortunately she relapsed and she ended up with a brain tumour. It was the same cancer, but it spread to her brain. We got her back in remission, and then it spread again, and this time she has several spots in her bones. And in 2018, July, they told me to take her home. She had 3 months to live. So I didn't. I fought, and I spoke to doctors all over the world, and I was told there was treatment still available, and we raised nearly £600,000, and we took her to Barcelona, and we managed to get her back in remission for 2 years. So she's continuously fought. There isn't a cure for relapsed neuroblastoma, so we have to do trials all the time. Oh, sorry, that's all in that.
There's a special guest on the podcast in the background.
Just touching her line one moment.
That's all right.
There you go. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Excellent. Just hammers the message home even more, doesn't it? Live performances.
Yeah, absolutely. She had a blanket stuck on her line.
No probs.
Yeah. So yeah, we took her abroad. We managed to get her in remission, and we were just going to go to New York actually for a thing which is a vaccine to prevent it to, it's a trial actually, so we don't know if it actually works, but it's supposed to prevent the neuroblastoma coming back. Just before we were due to go, she relapsed again in Spain, and obviously we've been fighting since. But
This was the most recent one, Nikki, was it?
it was. We took her back to the UK. So we took her. Come back to the UK, and we were offered a treatment here on a trial called Minivan. That was in Southampton. We started that, and she was doing brilliant. And then, Christmas Eve, they said it had got worse, it progressed. So it had actually worked really well at first, and she was down to one spot. And then we found out 2 weeks ago that actually it isn't in the bone now, it's actually soft tissue. She's got 2 tumours behind her knee and 1 in her groin. So last week she had a biopsy to see if we could find out the genetics of this cancer, because it's really complicated cancer. It's not like breast cancer or any of the other ones. It's got its own DNA, and it's really sneaky and clever. And so in the meantime, we're going to start chemotherapy, which will be high dose. As I said, she'll be very unwell. She'll lose her hair, and basically try to buy some time to find another trial. But that's where the money raising comes back into it, because obviously the UK doesn't trial children's treatments very often.
Right.
Because it's rare, there's not much money to be earned from it. So there's not much progress. So the same chemos that we used in the 50s is what Isla will be using today. So, things have to change. It's mustard
You're
gas.
talking like mustard, mustard gas. Like 70 years ago, that treatment was like came into being, basically. Am I right in thinking that?
That's why the hair falls out, kills the cells.
Yeah.
I'm having a nightmare. It cut out. So basically, that's what she'll be using today. So the reason we need to start raising money again is due to the fact that there probably isn't going to be much they're going to offer. Every time you relapse
in the UK,
yeah. So there won't be anything the NHS can probably do for us. Hopefully that isn't the case, and they do start the trial. But we have to be prepared that we're probably going to have to go to Barcelona or New York.
Yeah.
So we've had to start fundraising. On Isla's Just Giving page, it says that we've got 500 and something thousand, but that's
563. Yeah.
That's not correct. We've got 162,000 on the
That's
Just Giving.
left. That's money left. Yeah.
Yeah. It only shows you what you've raised in total. It doesn't take off what's been spent.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we've spent the rest of that money on treatment in Barcelona. So I don't want people to think, oh God, why are they raising money when they've got that kind of money? Because we really don't. And £162,000 is not even going to get us into America.
Yeah.
We're putting in the door because we've already got a relationship, but the treatment is extremely expensive. Even though they're trials, you still have to pay paid for abroad.
So just to give people an idea, Nikki, to break it down, you said there in total, since you've been on this fight since March 2017, as you mentioned, you've raised £563,000, through for people all over the country and all over the world, and you've spent the money which has left you with, so around £400,000 of that has been spent on Isla's treatment already, which leaves you with 160. Like you said, there are people at home who might think, and I'll be perfectly honest, I thought that at first when we spoke the other day and you said 160, I did exactly the same. I thought, that's not too bad then. And then we chatted on the phone, didn't we? And you explained where this money goes and the sort of figures you're talking about for the treatment that Isla might need. So just give people at home who might have had the same thoughts as me about that figure, just give them an idea of what sort of costs you're going to be facing on the treatment Isla might need on these next steps that you've got in front of you.
So when we went last time, obviously, if you have chemotherapy, I think chemotherapy, it depends which one you have, but it can be extremely expensive. So each hit of chemo could be something like 20 grand. So if you do 6 months worth of chemo, it all adds up.
And how regularly would you have chemo, for example?
Once a month, 3 times, 5 days, and once a month. That's only one chemo. So obviously, that, as I said, depending on what chemos they are, because some chemo has to be made exactly as you come in, so it's more work. Other chemos last longer. Sorry, I was getting involved. Yes, one moment. Hold on. Sorry. Immunotherapy is quite expensive. So 6 months of immunotherapy is about £160,000. That's on its own. That's with plaster, medication, because everything has to be paid for when you're private. But radiation is extremely expensive. So if Isla was to do, say, 14 days of radiation, you're looking at 60 to 80 grand.
Yeah, sure.
Getting anaesthetic every day, so everything goes up in price. Every time Isla has to be scanned, and that's MRI, MIBG, and bone marrow, you're probably looking at another £20,000. That has to be done every 8 weeks. If she goes in an ambulance, you're looking at €600. An overnight stay in Barcelona is £1,100 to stay. That's for me to stay in hospital with Isla. I don't even get anything with that. You don't get fed, anything like that. So she ended up in ICU, and I think that cost us about 20 grand.
£20,000. How long was that for?
ICU, that's 3 days.
3 days. Yeah, I mean, that's what's £6,500 a day. That just drums home to people, doesn't it? So so the things that when we were chatting the other day off of the podcast, you were explaining to me the options that for you, all of this has always been about, you just want to fight as hard as you can to fundraise as hard as you can for Isla and give her the best opportunities at the best treatments or trials that are available. So what are your next potential steps now, which is obviously why you're calling on people to start fundraising again?
So we've spoken to the Memorial Sloan Hospital in New York, in Manhattan. It's one of the biggest cancer hospitals in the world, actually. We spoke to the doctors on Friday night there. We've also spoke to our doctor in Barcelona. And basically they've said for 8 weeks, for the 2 cycles of chemo, we need to stay here to hold it at bay.
So that's the NHS, you're doing that in England?
Yeah. Just an average. We was offered this 2 years ago and refused it and went abroad. So, but we can't get abroad at the moment. So
yeah, sure.
Otherwise we would never have even considered to do this, because there's only 50% chance that it will do any good. It could make it work. It's hard. Neuroblastoma, most cancers become immune to chemotherapy. So what we want to do at the moment is, I think we're going to go to Barcelona in 8 weeks. Hopefully everything will be okay COVID-wise and being able to enter the country. And then we're going to do the same chemotherapy, but with antibody treatment, which is private. There's also another treatment in America that we're considering. It's a trial, a brand new trial. And that's got to be obviously fundraised. And that's, if we went to America, you got to double the prices that I've told you, because Manhattan is one of the most expensive places in the world. Barcelona is really expensive, but Manhattan is obviously, and it's a lot further away.
So those would be initial steps, Nikki, wouldn't they? Your next step, either New York or Spain.
We don't know whether we're going to do more radiation, whether they'll put her back to have high dose chemo. If they do that, then she'd have to have a stem cell transplant, which means we'd have to unfreeze her stem cells in London, bring them to abroad, which is all going to cost money because it's got to be put on a medical plane, and
So even just for your next steps, what are you looking at money wise?
We are not even going to try to put an amount on this. We've done this in the past and it seems to cause a lot of problems. I've said this before and I'm going to say it again, and this is what I truly think. I do not want to lose my child over money. If there is a treatment and I can't raise the amount of money that I need, that is not going to happen. And I've seen it many, many times, because people can't raise the money fast enough, a child passes away. Bradley Larry is one of the ones that you could talk about. I know another little boy, Mitchell, same thing happened to his parents. They just couldn't do it quick enough. So we don't want to get to the point. And I'll be totally honest with you, when we returned here in July, half the reason we came back was because we couldn't fundraise anymore. Because of COVID, we couldn't keep the money. We needed about £20,000 a month to come in just to keep rolling. And we couldn't do it. It wasn't fair to keep putting the pressure on the people that have helped us from the beginning, that keep on helping us, when people are losing their jobs. And that's why when we come back in July, we haven't fundraised since. We didn't need it. It wasn't an emergency. So we didn't think it was fair to ask. So we stopped fundraising. There's been little bits and pieces going on. Mainly is my stuff that we've sold, that has been donated by kind people. But no fundraising, really. Yeah, and that's why I'm asking now for everyone to help us again, because I don't want to lose Isla down to not being able to raise enough money. And it is a big, big chance that that's going to happen. you know, and I know that people haven't got the money that they had because people are losing jobs, but you know, there's a share button, and if you share, it makes a huge difference, because then we can reach people that we never would have reached. And you know, we are extremely grateful just to press that button without anyone donating. So like, we know what it's like at the moment, so we are extremely grateful for everyone to help us and to carry on helping us, because 4 years is a long time to keep fighting.
Yeah, but just so with the, you know, obviously I think everyone at home, if they don't know the story already, just quickly then, Nikki, where can people go to if they want to donate listening to this, and they think, yeah, that's something that I want to get behind. Obviously, like you said there, if anyone listening can share the links to Isla's, it's at Isla's Fight on Twitter, or the Just Giving page on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is, share those. But where can they go to actually donate some money?
So Isla obviously has a Twitter and she has a Facebook, and you can go on there, but she's got a Just Giving page on the Bradley Lowry Foundation. You have to go on to Isla's one for the money to go to Isla, because otherwise obviously there's lots of children. But yeah, she has that page that you were talking about earlier with the 500, and that is the page to donate to. Your name comes up so we can see everybody that donates. And yeah, if you can donate, and even there's lots of raffles. We're not asking for you to just give us money, you know, we are giving things back as well. We've got loads of great things that are being auctioned, and not just auctioned because we don't think sometimes that's fair, because people can't always afford big amounts. So we've been doing the football cards as well, so £5 a square, which I think gives everyone a chance to win, and it's fairer. So yeah, so if you take a look at Isla's Twitter, everything's usually shared on there, and that's the most up to date. I run the Facebook, so it's not so up to date as Twitter.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that's yeah, I mean, there's lots of people, West Ham fans, doing some really good work. I know Baz Cox does some outstanding stuff, works tirelessly with you guys as well. So yeah, obviously if you can't, go to our Twitter as well at @WeAre_West Ham. We've shared links in the past and recently where you can go and chip into that. So if anyone's listening home, please do. But just Nikki, before I let you go, just to sort of ram it home, if you like, the actual figures you're talking about, just to get yourself off the ground for the next step you want to do in New York or Spain. Give people just a ballpark for the first, what you'd be doing for the first step, just so people understand.
I think we need to raise at least over 500,000 at the moment. So it's a big amount. I don't like to put it because I think it's quite daunting for people, and they think, oh, we're never going to be able to do that. But we've done it before, we can do it again. And, you know, we haven't been that lucky to get corporate businesses and all those other things. It's just been everyday people like us and just like you. So without people like you and all the West Ham fans, and not just West Ham fans, all the football fans, you know, we've had lots of people get involved, but mainly West Ham. You know, and we're all working class people. So, you know, it has been tiresome to do, but people have backed us all the way. You know, people fall in love with Isla, and she is super. She's my little superhero, you know. So I think we are so grateful, because without everyone, we wouldn't be in there. You know, 2 years ago, we would have lost her. So we don't want that to happen. And that's why we have to fight on, you know. And also the love and support is just amazing, you know. Somebody sent her a load of toys. They'd raised money and they wanted it to go for toys instead of, and she'd be using them every day this week. And that's what she was just asking me for. Can I have another surprise? Keep her occupied rather than just laying in bed feeling depressed, you know?
Absolutely, yeah.
Well,
I would imagine,
so,
yeah. So, and Nikki, it's been absolutely great having you with us today, and I don't want you to be overshadowed, but is there any chance we can say hello to Isla quickly?
Absolutely.
Excellent stuff.
And thank you all so much, because like I said, without you we wouldn't be able to do this. And thank you.
Absolutely not a problem. We're definitely doing the easy bit. Hello, Isla.
Say hi.
How are you?
She's great.
What are you up to?
What are you doing? So you're watching television.
Mummy tells me you've had a few surprises today. Have you been getting presents off people?
Lots of you like presents, don't you? Yeah? I think she's ready for nap.
Ready for sleep. Well, it's great to speak to you, Isla, even if only briefly. Say bye. Bye. Speak to you soon. Nikki, well, thanks so much for joining us, I say, and it just rams home to people. We're obviously sort of doing the stuff with Betway, but it really is a drop in the ocean. So we're calling on everyone else to sort of get behind what is a worthy cause, and we send all our love and best wishes to you from us lot on the pod and the guys who the thousands of people who listen to us every week as well. So we hope to have you on in again. Do keep us updated with how you're getting on, and fingers
Thank
crossed
you.
we can pull together and like you say, give you a fighting chance to do the next step, whatever that might be for you.